Welcome back to the channel, lads and ladies, and welcome to a replay video that's been a while in the making. This is AmFaM on display. The three people that are going to be featured in this video are people that have been very active in the Discord, and I didn't have any reason to show the STRV at the beginning of this video other than I think that Puma's decals were looking pretty on fleek there, so I thought I'd share them with you. This one is really about what PumaTato manages to accomplish in the what's this called, the AVRE. So here he is, and you're looking through a custom gun site that I downloaded for the Avery. Not that I own an Avery, but I was thinking about buying this absolute unit of a meme tank, and I thought I would play around with a custom gun sight to see if that would help me to hit things. It is definitely a lot more useful than the one that comes stock with the vehicle, but I don't consider it enough of an improvement to make me feel confident in using the tank. But we have plenty of time to think about our life choices as we wait for Puma to reload here, and he's launching what is basically a plastic explosive filled watermelon at the enemy. A ridiculously sized round that is intended to blow up entire buildings at a time. So, can we take down this enemy tank? You'll also notice that Puma is using the gun sight from the gunner's view. So what does that mean? It is, even though this is a realistic battle, his periscope for viewing his target is actually historically positioned. In the case of the Avery, like the other Centurions, it should be up and I think to the right of the actual gun. I think that's right. And that means that not only can you see a bit of the add-on armor. Oh, what an incredible shot. That is so satisfying to just see everything blow up. And generally you see the Avery used at long or at close ranges, and to see it being used at 700-800 meters range, that is extreme range for this basically large fruit catapult that you're using to kill your enemy with. So very impressive to see, and I really do love that custom gun sight. Because the reload is so long on the Avery, you can definitely get a lot out of the rangefinder skill, and you won't be maxing out your range finding quite so often because the effective range of this gun is under 1 kilometer, so you'll be able to make more use of the range finding skill than you would in things that fire on a flatter trajectory, and that's something that you should definitely look into. Not sure if Puma was ranging his targets manually or not. That's not one of those things that shows up in the replay, but it's definitely a good idea. Another factor to take into account is that when you're using the rangefinder, it only finds straight line distance to the target. There's no compensation for elevation difference, and when you're firing down on someone, you need to offer less of a gun elevation than you would if you're firing straight at someone. Same deal for when you're firing up at them, so firing angle does make a difference. In any event, Puma has to consider all these things. He's set himself up in a fairly advantageous position. This would be an extremely powerful sniping position if he wasn't in an Avery lobbing rounds at the enemy, and it provides a good amount of hard cover and view of the battlefield if you really dedicate yourself to getting good with artillery pieces like the Avery or the rocket artillery in various forms that's available in the game. Even vehicles like the Sturmpanzer or the Brummbär, you can do very well, but you will do poorly, you'll be at a serious disadvantage until you work in the hours that it takes to get good at indirect fire. However, once you do, if you master indirect fire for your given vehicle, you have the ultimate advantage because you can sit behind hard cover without direct sight to your target and take them down. Of course, that's not exactly what Puma's doing here, but I tell you, it's satisfying enough to get these kills that if you feel like it, and if you want to play a totally different game from the rest of us, you can play Artillery Thunder. And I've mentioned a few vehicles that are very good at getting into that game mode. The Sturmpanzer 2 is a fantastic example because it has a reasonable reload rate for an unreasonably large gun that can be effective at many battle ratings. It has the mobility, and if you're sitting behind hard cover, the enemy simply can't hit you with their main gun. You would have to watch out for things like artillery and air support. Those are things you would not have a counter for at all. But in something like the Avery, that could be handled quite nicely as your armor is reasonably effective. You have a token anti-aircraft machine gun mounted on top of your vehicle, and your mobility is not terrible either. The armor on the Avery has come through for Puma a few times here, and this might not seem like the most action-packed gameplay, and it really isn't. But the deal with playing these big boy guns is that you get the most satisfying kills in the game, and the more you have to wait for it, the more you have to work for it as a seasoned hunter, and the more new skills you need to learn, the more fun it can be. But anyway, it's definitely not for everyone to play indirect fire vehicles. It's not for everyone to get good at shooting from behind cover, and you're not going to win matches as compared with using a more versatile vehicle with this much regularity. But it is one of those things that you can enjoy the process of mastering, and when you get really good at it, you can have an advantage that just can't be taken away. The ability to take down targets from behind cover. And again, that's not exactly what Puma's doing here, because that is something that takes a lot of practice to get good at. But he is showing us how satisfying those kills can be when you just blow up every dang thing inside an enemy vehicle. Anyway, that's been a look at what Puma was able to do. Here's one more look, and that last enemy just slipped away. Now, on to another replay. This one sent in by, what's his name? AmFaM for life. So apparently he is a module within an air conditioning unit, and that's extremely surprising to me. I was already impressed with AC, knowing him as a person, and to find out that he is a piece of mechanical equipment within a cooling device just well, it blows my mind. I think that's pretty cool. But it might be what's that stand for? ACDC? I don't know. I'll have to ask him. I must admit, I've sort of outgrown my enjoyment of bands like AC/DC and Metallica. I listened to their music for a while, and it's just not really for me anymore. I think it all just kind of blurs together in my mind. And it's okay for somebody else to like it. It's just not my thing. But let's get into the match. Let's also turn off the indicators. This is a realistic battle after all. And that is one thing about replays, that they don't really give you full... Whoa, AC, you're getting me seasick here, bud. He's popping in and out of the binoculars, which is one of those things that you need to do, especially in this area. Oh, that's disappointing, but the layered mantlet and turret armor of the M4, they're coming through for him, stopping the monster round of that APCBC 85mm Potate that the IS-1 can launch. By the way, this is a stock IS-1, so he's firing stock rounds, he has stock performance, and even as a heavy tank, he's able to arrive in the combat area at the same time as enemy mediums. He comes in packing more firepower than most American vehicles can match. He has a decent reload rate, and he has much more reliable armor than vehicles like the M4 Sherman. Even the Jumbo has a lot of issues with the IS-1. Not that the Jumbo is at the same battle rating, but what I tell you is the IS-1 is a fantastic vehicle straight out of the box, and if you're looking to get away from frustrations with other vehicles, maybe try yourself the IS-1. It's one of the most powerful heavy tanks in the game, and it has been for a very long time. It has a literally straightforward playstyle, and it packs the punch of that powerful 85mm Soviet gun that makes such a splash in the game. It's one of those vehicles that you can start playing as a beginner and do reasonably well in and have a good time, and as an experienced or advanced player all the way up to the highest levels of gameplay, the IS-1 remains a useful and valuable tool. The IS-2 as well that it leads into is a fantastic tank, so if you're looking for something to look forward to in the Soviet tree, or if you're looking for a break from certain frustrations with the game, maybe be like AC. Maybe try the IS-1. And maybe even come onto the Discord, link in the description below the video. Hit that show more button down below the video to see that, and maybe come talk to AC about the tank, because he just started playing IS-1 and I haven't shut up about it. So maybe getting someone else to gush about the power of this stellinium fueled rocket tank would brighten his day. He's a really nice guy on top of that. I should mention that this is all about AmFaM members today. AmFaM is amazing friends and mentors. That's the squadron that I've started, and I am not going to be a really effective and active squadron leader. I'm barely able to just make videos. I've been so busy lately. In fact, I need to run to the bathroom now because I have really bad indigestion that kept me up quite a bit last night. Because I happened to eat some fried chicken that has MSG in the seasoning salt. And I realized this because I felt like I was gonna die for hours upon hours upon hours, and that's one of those things that happens to me when I accidentally eat MSG. So it's not a serious thing, it just makes me feel horrible, and I'm gonna go spray paint the toilet for a bit. Be back in a minute. Ugh, I gotta admit, I'm still not feeling 100%, but I am gonna sit in front of the computer as long as I can. One of the things that I regret about how cool all of you guys are on the Discord is that I just love spending time with you guys, and especially Puma, AC, Butler, Fluffy, and any number of you other guys that by the way, I'm horrible with names, so apologies if I don't remember to mention any one of you specifically. You guys are just too cool. I really love hanging out with you guys, and I kind of feel bad that I want to do so many more things with you guys than I actually end up doing. And I've talked about something that AC and Butler are working on right now, and I'm really excited about that, and I wanted to be more involved in it, but I just haven't had the chance. And stupid stuff like eating the wrong kind of chicken it just kind of disappoints me even more. Anyway, another thing that's disappointing is when people don't realize that they're about to head on an IL-2. Not disappointing for the IL-2, I tell you. This enemy pilot is about to make one of the classic blunders. Never head on a Soviet ground attacker. So that guy made his last mistake, well, in that airplane. He done get shreked, and I'd like to say that the rest of this match went really well for air conditioning fan here, but you know, Poland, it ain't no fairy tale. And I'd like to say that IL-2 fought the good fight, and the Shermans left him alone. But, well, these ended up being dark days for old Yuri. Black times for Russian bias. But with his second air kill already, and not the direct hits with the ordnance that it takes to get kills with the IL-2's bombs and rockets, but still a good showing in the air with this wing sawed off and into the next vehicle, and then shortly into the next vehicle again. AC is showing us that you should never give up, and that is a great lesson to learn in War Thunder. It can be really disappointing to not have vehicles on the same power level as the IS-1 to back up your lineup as you're building your way through a tech tree, but AC is keeping on here. And with the way that rewards work in War Thunder right now, that's a very good strategy to go with, and I applaud the changes that were made that make that happen. If you're doing well in a match and you stick with that match, the more time you spend in the game, the more of a reward you'll receive, even if your subsequent performance in that match is not at the same level as it was earlier. Suffice to say, it's worth it right now to stick with things in War Thunder, especially in Tank RB. Keep respawning, keep fighting, keep being active, even if you get punched in the face again and again and again. It's worth it to keep trying. And I was talking with AC when I was talking about posting this video up, and he said, yeah, you know, just the IS-1 part is the only part really worth watching. And you know what? I like showing you guys this part where he respawns again and again. He keeps fighting, he keeps dying, he keeps going, and I don't even edit out the part where I'm closing the sidebars because the replay system could still use some work. It's the War Thunder replay system is, first off, a lot better than almost every other replay system I've seen in a game, because most of these games don't even have a decent replay system. So kudos to Gaijin for really making a replay system that has more features than a lot of other replay systems. They've done that right. But on the other hand, it also has a bunch of weird bugs that just have not been addressed at all. It could be that people aren't reporting these things. It could be that not enough people use the replay system to make it enough of an issue, or it could be that Gaijin is swamped with other bugs that they have to constantly address, because they tend to be pushing things out the door faster than their ability to assure quality. And, well, is it not the Soviet way? I think Papa Stalin would be proud if it flies out the door and it crashes into the enemy. It has succeeded. Who needs to build a game that'll last for years if people are only going to play it for a couple months? Wait a minute, that sounds like a bad idea. Well, I never said that Papa Stalin was a good tactician, but you know what? It did work out in the end for USSR. It's just unfortunately how many lives had to be destroyed in the process. Is that also a story for War Thunder? Well, we'll have to see. Moving on to the next person. I'm not sure how I got onto that subject, but if I feel a little bit sore and bitter, it's just because of the monosodium glutamate that my body is currently treating like a deadly toxin, and it's making me feel like a big ol' sack of discomfortable, irritable old man. So, who do we have now? We have... Dang it, I can't read this name from here. Is this Fluffy? No, it's Derp Tank. That's right. Sorry. This is a replay that was sent in by Derp Tank, and I love how he starts out this match. This is the little tiny pasta boy with the 20mm semi-auto cannon gun thing, and it is officially the smallest playable vehicle in War Thunder. It's absolutely adorable. It's the size of the treads of other tanks. It's absolutely micro mini. You can barely fit a couple of malnourished Italian youth into this thing to form the crew. And it basically fires, what, angry reviews at the enemy vehicle until they submit, but with an APHE 20mm round at this very low battle rating, there are several targets that can penetrate from several angles with very... Look at that park bench dwarfing the size of this full vehicle. It's so teensy. I really do need to spend some more time in this tank myself, and I could tell you the name of it, but I already told you I'm terrible with names of like the people that I appreciate and know, and so when talking about Italian tanks, I'm even worse. I think it's called the Tagliere Mark 20 mil baby Tankus Babicus final answer. So around not quite lead enough to go into the engine compartment of that, what is that, a T-70, but with a little bit of adjustment he's able to take down his first enemy. You can see from his well-concealed position here, out in the middle of freaking open. It's just such a teeny tank that even those couple of bushes on his flanks are enough to provide soft cover for a considerable portion of the battlefield. This is just such a ridiculously sneaky tiny boy, and if only everybody had grass enabled, you could hide this thing in the savannah and never be noticed. But that's not going to be the case today for Derp Tank. He's going to have to earn his kills the old-fashioned way, by getting ridiculously lucky, and he does pretty well here. So about the same time as this Frenchy boy, he gets a shot into what looks like the turret, and then another one very nicely placed into the turret ring. And you're seeing again part of the issue with the replay system, in that it didn't even look like he was reloaded by the time that round was already hitting the enemy vehicle. War Thunder replay system, not by any means perfect, but well, again, it's better than a lot of games have, and now he just happens to notice that Soviet super tank behind him, which has ridiculous amounts of space and armor. And at this point, what I would do is, well, first he's got to repair his transmission, so he's got to sit for a second. Now I would aim for the engine, because if you can immobilize this enemy tank, he doesn't have the gun depression to aim down at you. Gun depression, sound a little bit Aussie there for a second, but instead he goes for the central portion of the tank, which is not a bad shot, and he puts in one into the engine compartment, but it gets eaten up by a fuel tank, not even starting a fire. It's always disappointing to blacken a fuel tank, have it eat up all of the energy of your round, and then not get a return for it. And you see that he is going to be able to close and finish off. Look at the size difference between these two tanks, just ridiculous. And you can see he even has a machine gun port that could possibly try to punch through Derpy Boy's armor here, but it's not going to be enough. Too little, too late, too low to go. Now he's going to have to position and aim at another enemy here. And one thing that I was just sort of clenching, not the way I was doing just a minute ago, dealing with my MSG intolerance, but a different kind of clenching, as Derp Tank closed with that enemy Soviet heavy tank. I can't remember, or not heavy tank, but multi-turret tank. I can't remember the name of it right now. Apologies. I used to play it quite a bit. It really is a fun vehicle. Once he got close, I was afraid that he might accidentally collateral himself. And just look at the... every now and then, you get one of those those non-pens that just seems like it should have gone through. But no bother. With a second shot into the vehicle, Derp Tank was able to ignite the fuel tanks there, which read in the replay as a crew eliminated, but it was actually the fuel tanks exploding as though they are an ammo rack, and that does have a set percentage chance to happen with most fuel tanks in the game. Fuel explosions are still a thing. They used to be credited as a fuel explosion. I'm not sure why Gaijin doesn't do that anymore with the hit indicator. I think it's because they took fuel explosions out of the game at one point, but they have brought them back in, and they just call it an ammo rack explosion. But fuel tanks explode, that is a thing. It happens in both aircraft and ground vehicles, and it's just a percentage chance, and I think it varies based upon different vehicles and possibly the amount of damage going in, but I think when you black a fuel tank, it has a set percent chance to explode, and it's not a very high percent. It seems like it's somewhere around 15%, so I don't know. I just work here. Anyway, opening up very aggressively here, he needs to take down this PumaTato truck before it takes him down. He does have Derp Tank, I think around 45 millimeters of armor on his frontal plate, which is not bad for a rank 1/reserve tank, but this Soviet potato AA is going to be able to spud him to death. Now Derp Tank is back, and we fast forwarded a bit in the match to where he's getting into position in his Spaghetti AA Mark 1, I think it's called. This is less an armored car and more of a car with a 20 mil mounted on it. A crew of 2, a good fire rate, and fairly smooth gun handling. I think on the dev server this vehicle actually had a stabilizer, which just made it totally ridiculous, and I think in game it has something of a free elevation thing going on, although I don't see that control on there anywhere. It does seem to be a bit more stable than other 20 mil mounted armored cars, but that could just be down to the general stability of the platform itself. And Derpy Boy here doing a victory lap around the cap zone. There have been a few tactical decisions that Derp Tank just plays the game a bit differently than I would, and that's perfectly fine. You see that this match turned out fairly interesting for him. PumaTato truck round 2 as they go into the circle of death. This superior Italian Speedy Boy car is able to... Whoa, ammunition exploded? I think what you meant again to say is fuel explosion. I think once again you're looking at a fuel tank in the engine compartment exploding and causing the instant death of the vehicle, which again it's fair. It's reasonable. It'd just be nice to see it credited as a fuel explosion. I really noticed those a lot more when I was starting out in the game, playing vehicles like the M47 Tiger Patton, with which I ground out most of the American tech tree at the time, and this would be around the time when the Doom Turtle was coming out, and I wanted to grind my way up to the Doom Turtle, so I used the M47, and that's the end of the match for Derp Tank. You can see that he got a pretty good score there, and again he kept coming back into the battle to make things happen. It sounds like the oven's ready. It's about time for me to make another homemade pizza. And that's another thing I wish I could share with you guys. I like seeing you guys online, and I like being able to connect with each one of you, and I honestly hope that you guys are enjoying these videos and having a good time. This has been a look at some of the AmFaM members, and again, that's my squadron. If you feel like joining, the only thing I'm looking for in an AmFaM member is for you to be kind and for you to be nice. So if you can manage to do those things, welcome to the squad. In any event, I hope you enjoyed this video. Excuse me. And I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.